Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going back in the time machine. Got a reel from 1972. This is a Shakespeare. It's lost its badge. I believe it's called the Sea Wonder. It's the model 1700 version 2, II. The model is DJ, and DJ is a model code for years. And for those of you that know it or not, Shakespeare used model codes for quite some time. And well, they used numbers that corresponded to letters, and the letters and numbers together were what the year of manufacture was. First of the letters is the top row, second of the letters is the bottom row. We have DJ, so in this case we have a D, which is the 7, and the J, which is the 2, and that tells us the reel was made in 1972. This one is not doing very well. It's very hard to turn. My guess is that we've got a lot of old grease and dirt and debris in there. We're going to try to clean this one up, give this reel a second chance. Well, if you like to watch videos like this, if you like to learn about fishing reel service and repair, if you just like to increase your knowledge of the fishing industry and kind of learn what's new, what's hot, and what's not, I try to cover all of those topics in the course of a reel service. So I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel, and if you do subscribe to my channel, please use that notification button. Also, if you like the video, please indicate that with a like. That always helps the video rankings and helps to bring other people in that are interested in this type of information. When I take my pieces and parts off, I do two things. The first is I put them into a parts tray for parts management, and I'm removing the exterior parts here, of course, and that includes a star adjuster on this reel. And the second thing I like to do is take pictures so that I don't get those mixed up when it comes time to reinstall. And I also have a reference point should I get lost along the way. A lot of these old reels, well, it's hard to find the schematics and other devices that would help you in getting back on track, so your pictures will be the best. Use your phone, use your digital camera, use any image capture device you like, but take those pictures. I know I take them. I'm doing a video. And don't fool yourself into thinking that I never used that video to help me get back on track again. All right, we've taken off the handle, the star adjuster. Now we're going to remove the cap. That's a twist. And then we can remove the bell housing here. And that has a nut on it, and also has a nut that possibly can be removed with a screwdriver. It depends if we have enough of a... Yeah, we do. Sometimes you can't get it through because the stud will stick up through here. Sometimes, well, you get lucky like I just did. When you remove the housing, notice that our theory about the old dried grease is probably going to be the case. Look at all the old dried grease in that click mechanism that holds your spool for casting. I personally like these reels an awful lot. This one was sent in by a customer, but I always enjoy kind of putting this on an old spool. 5'6", 6-foot rod, putting some fresh line on there and taking it fishing, because they are a pleasure to fish with. All right, we just cleaned that up with a little bit of penetrating oil to dissolve the grease. Look at that nice coating on this top. You don't see that today. You see a lot of plastic parts or stamped aluminum or something. It's a nice heavy piece. What's going to happen here when you go to fish this, it's going to push this out. You can see how that pin comes out. That's going to help you gather the line, and that gets pushed out during after the casting process is complete. Okay, before I take the rest of the top off here, I want to take the bottom off. We have two screws holding this case on. We also have a stud that's holding on your thumb button for release. And this reel back in 1972 was made in the USA. Well, probably in Kalamazoo, Michigan. That's where Shakespeare was making their reels. And it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't too long after that these things started being made abroad. All right, those two come out. We can pull off the inner workings here. As I mentioned, we have a stud that the release button sits on. Again, another indication here that we have an awful lot of dirt and debris. You just saw that little spring come out. That spring is the lever spring for pushing up. Just trying to figure out which way it goes now. Probably upside down here, but there we go. So they put this hard spring on there so you don't wear your plastic down. That goes into the parts tray. And well, we have a relatively simple design now. We have our pinion gear, which is kind of floating free because, well, I took the nut off there. And well, we can just continue now. We can pull this C-clip off of here. That's going to release the spool. Sometimes easier said than done. I'm just going to use a screwdriver to get some additional leverage. You can see how it kind of comes in there. Now I'll use that little pick. Again, take your pictures. Notice that there's kind of a bend in this and that the bend is facing up. And then we can pull the spool off. And let's come down below. Maybe you can just pull this whole thing out. Yep, we can just pull that whole thing out for now. Pull our main gear out. And in this case, I'm not seeing the anti-reverse override. That's probably on the outside. And again, we just want to take a moment here. Here's our anti-reverse right here. Unfortunately, it's a, well, I don't see a, here we go. All right, this is how your anti-reverse is going to work. It's an eccentric. We have the spring on the back side of the main gear. That spring is going to go into the slot here, and when you back it off, it will pull it in. There you go. So that kind of anti-reverse was used a lot on spinning wheels. And it's a just kind of a resistance-based swing arm, but it's very effective. All right, the case is cleaned up. On this one, we normally have a pin. Yep, you can see there's a pin here. You compress the spring and pull the pin out. This is your pin. Compress the spring, pull the pin out, and you can remove the spring. You can remove the shaft, and you can continue with the cleaning. I noticed the orientation on this when I was doing it, but you should pay attention to the orientation as well. I'm not sure if this gear goes in both directions. This is the top as I removed it, or the part closest to the spring. And all of this has got dried grease in it, so be very careful as you go about cleaning. Make sure you get that dried grease off of there. Again, I'm kind of holding this tight, but I do know which side is the top side. Okay, this has been the top side. I've been maintaining that orientation. So we'll go ahead and put that back on. And then if you have that dirt and debris in that spring, go ahead and clean it out. And then we reverse what we just did in order to put the rest of this back together. There is a little indentation, just trying to find it. I'm pulling the spring back. It may be hard for you to see, but right here is that indentation. That's where the little quarter pin or flex pin goes. And you should be able to put this in with hand strength. And that's how it goes on there. And then the pin compresses back down. The rest of this is just the body, but clean it up. And up top as well. And then we can reinstall this. This is going to install from underneath. You do want to make sure as you're doing this that you re-grease the pieces and parts on the way in. Remember, we took all that old grease out. Make sure you re-grease on the way in. And I've cleaned around this enough, but let's just make sure. I'm going to run a cotton swab in the body here just in case. Yeah, there's a little bit of dirt in there. Okay. All right, this comes in after we put the main gear on. We want to do the same thing with the main gear. We're going to use our penetrating oil. That'll help to dissolve the grease. Cotton swab to help collect it. And then a paper towel just to wipe off what those two pieces couldn't get. And one more piece here. We have the dried grease that's in the teeth of the main gear, so let's take care of that. I'm using a brass brush for this. You can use a toothbrush. Anything along that line will work fine. And here's that extended piece here for the eccentric. That wire spring there is what we need. And you have the bottom drag washer in there as well. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. We're going to put some fresh grease onto the teeth of the main gear. And if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, maybe you're working on one, maybe you're working on a large trolling reel. I just got a Penn 12-0 Senator in. That's about as far away from this as you can get. Well, if you're working on something like that and maybe you're stuck, just leave a question in the comment section. I do try to answer those. We want to get a little bit of grease onto that shaft as well. And we want to aim now, this hook here, we want to aim for this slot over here. And most of the time you can do this pretty visually. And you'll know you have it in if you can pull it and have it come back and set. Didn't do a very good job, it seems, of getting that done, so try that again. Got it. All right. You can see I can turn it this way. As soon as I turn back, it's going to stop. Well, I don't want to have an issue with that later on. So before I go any further, I'm going to put this stop on here. Tension washer. I'm going to put the star adjuster back on. And that's going to hold that main gear in place so I don't lose the anti-reverse feature there. Okay, I had to step away for a minute. I apologize. I had a call I had to take. But let's pick this up then. So we've installed the main gear. We showed you how to set that anti-reverse. Now we're going to set the pinion gear and the gear shaft for the spool. We showed you how to assemble that. And now we can bring this in from underneath on the case. Make sure that that clip is seated properly. Bring this up and through. Make sure that your main gear meshes with that pinion gear. You can give it a spin and test that out. Okay. Next thing up then is, well, we can put the bottom of the case on. We're done here now with that. Make sure that you have that little metal pressure plate there. I'm going to hang it like this. Bring it over and seat it. And line your two screw holes up to accept the screws that you took out earlier. Again. There we go. So we'll set the two of these up, then we'll set it aside for a moment. And we'll go finish that top assembly there. Line that screw hole. Those of you that watch the channel know me and little screws don't play well together all the time. Hopefully we'll do well with this. I think we're in pretty good condition there. Test it, make sure that's going. What a difference from when we just had that before, right? Okay, let's bring our spool back over. You want to seat that stud from the spool here into one of these two holes here. And you can bring that clip, and what we said about the clip is coming in with the kind of the belly side facing up. Find the slot that it's going to seat in. You can bring that over and in. And your hand strength usually is enough to bring that back in and nice and tight. We'll come over here. We have our star adjuster on, handle on. They put a little one of these lock washers on there, so we'll do the same. We'll put that handle nut back on. Make sure when you put this handle nut back on that it goes on square. And this was made in the US, and it's not a metric tool, it's a 7/16 wrench. I believe it does line up with the 11mm, but I could be wrong. Give it a test right now, make sure that it's doing everything it should, which it appears to be. Let's go ahead and put our bell back on. There is a flat side to that post. Find the flat side. It's kind of a D shape. Bring this up, tighten this down. And then remember, we used a screwdriver to tighten that down the rest of the way. And you need to do that because that's going to be pulling up your pinning gear so that it works properly. Look at that, huh? Nice. Bring your cap over. Tighten that on, and well, I think what we've done is successfully tuned up a grease-choked Shakespeare 1700 version 2, made in 1972. Casting mode brings it in, flips it back up. You can see how it'll hold, and then it'll kick this back up when it goes into gear. Nice all-around wheel. This one's ready to go fishing again. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like the video, and again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so, and hit that notification button. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, and everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. And I do want to thank you, the viewers, for watching, for commenting, for liking the videos, and for subscribing. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day on the water.